Welcome back to the rest of the story. I'm going to address a question that I'm sure we've answered multiple times. I'm sure we will be asked them multiple times again. But are we going to go back to chopping silage? That's a good question. Right now, there are no plans to get back into chopping silage. Reason being, the harvester, this one up here, really isn't a whole lot of use to us. Well, we could. When we used to milk cows, we'd pull silage out of this harvester into that conveyor, and it'd go up in the hay mow, across two other conveyors, and out to the feeding system. Well, the one down at my place would be the most logical to go back to chopping. You guys are blaring out there. There is a little bit left in it, and it's going to be empty by this spring. Well, in the long term, I definitely see using the silo down at my place for silage. In the short term, seems that we don't have any chopping equipment. We're not about to hire anybody to come in and chop for us. Basically because the bunk down at my place is in a real need of repair. It's shot. It's older than, well, it's older than me. I think it's somewhere around 30 years old. It's shook. Now, my plans for it would be to put in a steer shed. You guys can see me shadow puppets back there. Put in a steer shed down at my place and then set it up for a feed bunk some way. Either a feed bunk or, yeah, actually I would try to stick with using the silo for the simple fact that when I'm doing field work or I'm not around, throwing switches is a lot easier for Brittany to do when she gets home from work than expecting her to go fire up a tractor and a skid steer and expect her to feed TMR. Because that would probably be our second option. Just do an inline bag and pull out of that. But to be honest with you, the silos are there, they work. They're really nice when they're running at their optimum, but they're expensive. I have seen bills for these blue harvesters come in the mail before for my grandpa, topping $10,000. That's just in repair bills. To maintain them, they're expensive. There's a reason that people are getting away from them. I wouldn't even be considering using them if it wasn't for the fact that we already have them. I can't really tell you that we'd use the one in here. We'd have to really ramp up our cattle operation, and right now that's not a short-term thing that is going to happen. I honestly believe that there's a better chance that I'll put in a steer shed down at my place, or even at the bare minimum, even tear out the feed bunk at my place and go that route. Myself, I would like to put in a steer shed and raise up my own feeder calves from my own beef herd, produce my own calves, and there's more money in that, producing your own feeders as opposed to buying them and backgrounding them and trying to finish them. You can make money doing it, but the margins are awfully tight, and they sway back and forth between green and red quite often without any warning. See, I remember quite vividly, I've ran that silo a lot. Here's all the switches to run it. We could use this silo. There's no reason we can't, but instead of using it in the barn like we did, what we would do is pull out one of these conveyors that are in here, because there's 3. What we would probably do is take out the tin on the back wall behind it, then turn one of these conveyors around and put it out through the wall and support it somehow to tender to either a TMR or some type of feeder wagon. Now somebody's going to say, and I will agree with you, it's a slow process. But it could be done. Whoa. It can be done. It would be a lot faster to just use a skid steer and an ag bag. But yet again, how much feed can you get in one ag bag? Plus you have to have an area to have an ag bag. These silos, they're vertical. You fill them full and basically you run them until they run out. The chains, the maintenance is really what will get you. The output chain that is behind that yellow door there, that chain alone is $2,500, $2,500, and that does not include any of the labor to put it on. So they are expensive. I believe Dodgeville is the closest. I think it's the closest shop for anybody that actually will work on them anymore. But they have it. The silos, to me, they have value. I have a hard time just leaving them sit, but we gotta figure out what we want to do as far as cattle wise. Right now, it's so much easier just to round bale our hay, bale it up, and feed it to our cattle that way. I could see chopping corn silage and feeding it to the feeder calves, but as far as the stock cows, I know people do give corn silage to their stock cows when they're bred, and it produces a better calf, is what I've been told. But for us, just using what works and doing what works for us right now and what makes the most sense, letting the silos kind of sit dormant for a while. I mean, they're not going to go anywhere, and it wouldn't take a whole lot to get them up and running again, and we can reuse them here in the next 5, 10, 15, even 20 years down the road. Although granted, if we go 20 years without using them, I doubt. I imagine by then we would have made the decision not to use them again, focusing more on crops, which is kind of hard to do. But the cattle market for us, this barn should be full of bottle calves, and I'm blinding you guys again. This barn really should be full of bottle calves, but it's kind of hard to justify it right now. End of the year, taxes, I got my operating loan pretty well squared away. And it's just, we'll see what this summer brings as far as any custom baling, and if we decide to throw this barn full of calves this summer. As you guys can see my breath. Maybe you can't. I can. Well, the deal is, I thought this barn would be a lot easier to raise, a lot simpler to raise calves in this winter, this past winter. It actually gave us more trouble than I had last summer, or 2 summers ago now, because getting the air to flow through here, I had to have all the doors open, all the windows open, and I can't really do that in the winter. We were using corn fodder, which is a terrible form of bedding for bottle calves. It doesn't produce enough heat for them. What I was told was to put down a layer of corn fodder and then straw on top of them. That does a great job of keeping them warm and dry. But you gotta get the corn fodder in here. And we were using bales, but I'm actually feeding those bales up. I made those specifically to come into this barn. I narrowed them up so we could get them through that door back there. The rest of the bales I've been making, they're a little bit bigger than 6 feet tall. And when they're on end like that, we had to, even the ones I made, it was a tight fit getting them through that door. But I do like raising bottle calves, but like when it comes with milking cows, I didn't enjoy milking cows, but sometimes you just gotta admit when it comes to farming that the negatives, the pros, the cons are outweighing the pros to put a bunch of calves in here right now. If I can do a better job of raising them next summer, so be it. I don't see me filling this barn with 70 calves next summer. Maybe 30, maybe 40. But then this summer I'll come around and I'll find a deal and I'll fill it full. I can't help it. You take advantage of the good deals when you can. So yes, I hope I explained a little bit as to why we haven't done much for the chopping, or if we're ever going to get back to chopping. We would like to, but the money's got to go everywhere right now. I mean, it's kind of hard when the money gets deposited into the checking account right now. we can't really just take it and put it just towards this or just towards this. It goes to everything. So yeah, can't blame us. Wes just did a similar video, it was this morning, about finances. So it's the same for all of us. Farming's fun. You got to be a special kind of idiot to want to do it, which should lead me up to my next video. So, all right, talk to you later.